So I guess, for the slightly less initiated among the Riot sort of thing,
Mhm.
can you give me an idea of, like, uh, let's say how a new skin for a character is going to sort of develop? Like, where does it start, and where does it go to, and then how does it eventually end up being delivered? I should say.
Yeah, so it all starts on a pod, what we call a pod. So it's a group of disciplines, and so you'll have a sound designer, you'll have an animator, you'll have VFX, you'll have a game designer, you'll have tech, engineering, and narrative. Did I say narrative? And then you'll have someone kind of like producing the whole thing. So you'll have a pod of disciplines, and then the pod will take that information. They'll have someone creating. There's like concept art, and then you start like your whole like temp pass and putting everything in, and you're basically using the structure and the bones of the base champion. So it's already going to take the same shape.
You probably have a one pager already about that champion for first of all, right?
Well, you can make, there is one for the base champion, yes, but you can also
Right.
make one for your skin if you want to, because you're doing a whole new thematic.
Yeah.
And the thematic needs to be like, you're going to have a thing on that thematic. What things should you avoid? What things should you do? So you kind of have a little bit of guidance there.
Okay.
And again, we're going back to the whole feedback rounds, right?
Right.
And so um, it, I think some of us do different ways. What I like to do is I'll take in the base assets and I'll put them on like a track above where I'm designing, and I'll look at it and you try the best you can, but sometimes it doesn't always work. But you try to stay within the envelopes and try to follow the envelopes with your new sound, and just try to make it feel like if there's a hard transient somewhere, or if there's something happening like a lead in, like you want to follow that envelope. We want to try to create the same feeling,
Right.
different thematic. And so that's kind of what the approach is. So that's starting it, that's designing it. There's a lot of feedback loops there,
Hmm.
play testing as well, and then you have your PBE, which is going to the beta testing, and then we do a lot of listening and listening to the community. That's like super important
So
because
PBA is like playback environment or playback something.
yeah, it's like the beta testing environment, but it's there
Okay.
for 2 weeks. And so we listen to the community feedback, and we're listening and thinking, okay, is this hitting the right way? Or and maybe people might respond with a lot of comments and saying, okay, this is not like, for example, I worked on the update for Kale,
Mhm.
and I want to say it was for one of her skins. I had created a new sound effect, and it was just on the attack, and people were not happy with the fact that it had changed from her original. So I took the original and added it, the same sound, to the sound that I created, and had to, like, I had to manipulate it and edit it, but I
Yeah.
had to bring back in that old flavor, that vanilla flavor.
And then once they could hear the original quality of the sound that was slightly altered, they were more
Yes.
comfortable with that approach essentially.
Yeah, and maybe the functionality is different. Maybe when we hooked it up, there was some code that didn't have a toggle on for Fog of War. Maybe that wasn't working correctly, and so you
Uh,
can you can really alter people's gameplay and keep it from going into the esport realm. So you have to be very cognizant and listening to the community and saying like, "Hey, we should be changing this. Maybe let's not do this." Or so that testing period is a really good period, and then we have a cleanup period where it's like cleaning up we're archiving our stuff, putting it on
right.
servers, and doing all the cleanup, making sure the Y is just nice and neat and tidy, and then it ships.
Okay.